Before we jump straight into the video, a small announcement. Lawfriend Elite 2027 batch is out now. This batch prepares you for 8 3-year LLB entrance examinations across the nation, and it has around 115 plus full length mock tests and a countless number of sectional mocks. You will get proctorized all India mock tests, you will get detailed audio video review on your NLSAT Part B solutions, you will get monthly current affairs compendiums, you will get dedicated NLSAT Part A and B handbooks with solved PYQs. So, what are you waiting for? Contact us immediately or visit our website www.lawfriend.com for more such details, for more such experiences. And this YouTube channel already has documented the experiences, the journeys of a lot of previous year toppers. Do refer to them as well. And as we always say, keep learning, always aim to grow, and always aim to be. Hey everyone, welcome back to Lawfriend. This is Surya, as you know me. So today's video is going to a very informative one. आज की वीडियो में हम बात क्या करने वाले हैं कि we understand the new people that have come with us. For the past 1 year, we guys, for a lot of us people associated with Lawfriend, were people who were preparing for NLSAT for some quantum of time. But right now we have come across a very new category of people. People who have just graduated, people who are in their final year of their graduation, people who are thinking of a change in their career, and also people who gave NLSAT just to see how it was, but unfortunately could not crack it and want to give a very honest, justified, and very hard-worked try. For all of those people, it is the video. This video is your one shot, like a Bible for NLSAT 2027, because this video is going to talk about a lot of things. This video will not restrict itself to the discussion of what is the syllabus of NLSAT, what is the pattern of NLSAT, what are the cutoffs, what are the predicted cutoffs, because see, you will find a lot of different videos on that. The key elements that you need to take out from this videos are two. Number one, what should be your strategy? And this strategy is going to be very agnostic, whether you take a course or not, whether you prepare for self-study or not, but we are going to talk about all the skills that are required by you to crack this exam within the given time frame. Firstly, and secondly, we'll be talking about all the resources that you are going to need, because when we talk about the skills, we also need to talk about the resources that you need to develop these skills. So very where very simply we get to the resources as well. We are going to talk about free resources, mind you, because a lot of times you come across all of these websites wherein you have to log in, pay some token amount, give your personal information, so on and so forth. We'll be talking, keeping the conversation very crisp and clear. We'll be talking about all the free resources available, all the resources that we would like to suggest you to, and a few things here and there. We'll go keep on with the video and see how that goes. But yes, right now, as you see, this is your one short solution, one short Bible for NLSAT 2027. We'll be talking about syllabus, pattern, cutoffs, strategy, and resources. A bit overlook of what we are going to deal with. NLSAT, there are 120 seats in the NLSIU 3-year LLB course. 150 marks is the total marks of the total year of the exam, total marks the exam contains of. There are 2 sections and 150 minutes of the is the total duration of the exam. There are a lot of associated things like the placement records. There is a separate video on our channel for that. If you want to learn from toppers' own experiences, we also have that on our channel. You can learn from those things as well. This year's toppers, previous year's toppers as well. There are a lot of different things that we offer, but in this video we'll be keeping our discussion very concise. We'll be looking at the very objective nature of the exam and the resources that you need to crack it. Proceeding with it, since I also already mentioned there are a lot of new people we have with us, so for them, let us look at what exactly is NLSAT. For that, we need to look at the history of NLSAT a little bit as well, and NLS for that matter as well. NLS is not one of the best, but the best law school in our nation. Somewhere in 1997, it started its 5-year LLB course, a shift from the 3-year LLB course. Back then, law, the 3-year LLB course, as was very prevalent and very prominent, law used to be a second thought, an afterthought for a lot of people. It was never a first thought. So with the integrated course, it was pitched by the VC and the directors at that time to make law a very pedigree based, a very proctored, a very proctored environment wherein children straight out of their high school can come into it and like finished and furnished to be the best lawyers of the nation. So that operated. Then the entire NLU culture came up. Then the CLAT came up somewhere in 2000s, and law shifted from a 3-year LLB course to a predominantly 5-year LLB course. The corporate culture came up, so on and so forth. We know that story. But right now, as you see, people after doing their postgraduate studies need to look for a very good professional course, a course that can give them the possibility of a job option very soon. That led to the resurgence of the 3-year LLB. That led to the resurgence of the 3-year LLB course, and hence the 3-year LLB course by the best law school of the nation was launched in 2022. And although CLAT rank से 5-year LLB में admission होता है, for NLS में जो 3-year LLB के admission के लिए there is this exam called NLSAT. The placements after 3 years that you get are really good, and since you would be hearing this a lot of different Bain की report हो गई, या फिर a lot of different consultants agencies, family officers, they keep reporting that the death of MBA is really very soon, and so on and so forth. The reason because MBA operates in a very generic sense of business knowledge. Law, on the other hand, gives you the opportunity to look into very specific parts of corporate law, business, very minutely in a very detailed fashion. That is why if you do this law degree, a lot of people actually, because we mentor a lot of people, are actually MBA graduates, let's say from Stanford, let's say from Harvard Business School, and still they opt out for NLSAT, and we have rankers of that sort as well in our NLSAT 2026 exam, wherein they opted out of their conventional career for NLSAT to build a very systematic and in-depth knowledge about the area they work in, so that they bolster their careers against the serpents or the urgent or the growth of AI in this field. So with that said, NLSAT or law for that matter becomes not something a very new or a novelty in itself, but something that is currently in its resurgence era on the face of the AI taking up very generic career options. Law gives you a very good opportunity to build in-depth, practice-oriented, practical and professional career, which to some extent it is, but to a larger extent, if you look into the courts and the conception of justice and a lot of practice areas are defensible towards the onset, towards this entire scoundrel caused by the AI. So we would look into that, so on and so forth. NLSAT exam was launched in 2022. There are 120 seats, approximately 120 seats in NLS for the 3-year LLB course each year. Exam is 150 minutes long, and doesn't matter which undergraduate degree you have. It can be anything of science, any of the liberal arts, a commerce, a BCom, BBA, anything, everything would do. The NLSAT approach is very different from traditional law entrances. If you go ahead and look into traditional law entrances, there are, let's say, MHCET, you can say, you can take a CLAT for a very good metric point. You would see that in all of those entrances, for the postgraduate entrances as well, there are very doctrine heavy things, there are very case law and statute heavy things, and the focus on memorization. Take up AIBE, the All India Bar Association examination, for an example. That is something that focuses on the raw memorization and application of things, not on the core utilization of logic that is inherent in all of these statutes. NLSAT actually focuses on that. A very key thing of NLSAT is you do not need to memorize any law. They specifically mention in their direction circular that you do not need to know about any law, not even the fundamental rights, but you need to know about the essence of law. That is why they have a dedicated subjective paper, that is the part B. Out of 150 marks, half of the paper is objective MCQ questions, half of the paper is subjective answer writing. In the subjective answer writing as well, you are given legal situations to which you have to find legal solutions without the applications of relevant legal provisions or statutes, because everything is happening in a hypothetical scenario, in a hypothetical nation. So there are no statutes for that. You can only use the statutes given within the ambit of the question. Therein they test your logical and reasoning, your plain language interpretation, your real world fact scenarios and application, and thus they make it something of that sort of a logical interpretation of law thing, rather than a very rote memorization and then application of law thing. This is the peculiarity of this exam. If we talk about the tentative timeline, so that we can plan everything around it, your graduation, your thesis submission, so on and so forth, I'll be comparing it with the what happened previous year. So the admission notification last year for the 2026 exam was given in November 14, 2025. Then the application portal opened on November 15. The application deadline was March 30, 2026. Admit cards were released on April 19. The actual exam was on April 26, 2026, and the results were announced in May 21, 2026. If you could look and run it parallelly herein, then November 2026 this year, May, we can get the admission notification. Same month May, we can get the application portal opening. We can see that in December there would be the application deadline. December extendable to March, something like that. March 2027, April 2027, your actual exam, admit cards and exam, and in May 2027, near about 11 months from now, you will get to know whether you get into the best law school of the nation or not. With that said, let us look into who all can apply. So you need to have a bachelor's degree, but final year students may also apply with provisional admission until graduation is proven. As in undertaking kind of system wherein you first get into the college, then later you are asked for your graduation certificate with a particular amount of deadline. Because again, why to waste your time for one more year, even though you're going to graduate in a few months? So the general aggregate cutoff in a graduation degree for general, EWS and OBC NCL is 45%, minimum aggregate in any UG degree, and for SC ST PWD it's 40%. Final year applicants must submit proof of degree by 31st of December. I am running it parallel to this year, whatever it was, and failure to do so obviously cancels admission. International applicants, there is an equivalent matrix. There is a particular circular of NLSAT as well for international applicants. I'll link that in the description. You can check it as well. Any doubts, DM me. Let us look into the syllabus and pattern of the exam, a very, very important thing. We talked about how the pattern of NLSAT is very, very peculiar. Because see, of the 150 marks, just a second guys, of the 150 marks, 75 marks are your objective MCQs and rest 75 marks are your subjective. Let's talk about the part A. In this, there is no particular section wise division, but you are asked question across three limbs. Number one, logical reasoning. Number two, reading comprehension, and number three, current affairs and general knowledge. You get 75 questions of these. Each question carries 1 mark. For every correct answer, you get 1 mark. For every wrong answer, hear me out correctly. For every wrong answer or for every unattempted questions, for both of them, there is a negative marking of minus 0.25. Get it? Similarly, in the subjective paper, that is part B, you need to write 5 short essays and 5 short answers and 1 essay. The 5 short answers are 12 marks each. 5 times 12 60. 1 essay is 15 marks each, 75. There are a lot of different nitty-gritties to it. Let's discuss about that. Let's first talk about part A. So what are the things are asked to you in part A? So generally we see this should be the ideal breakdown of questions. But if you see our video wherein we discuss about the past trends of NLSAT, wherein we discuss about how many current affairs questions are asked, what are the kinds of current affairs questions that are asked, this slightly deviates from the same, but with a general trend we have seen the critical and the logical reasoning questions actually increasing in number, somewhere touching around 28 to 32 of the total amount of questions, these decreasing, existing in the range of 16 to 20. Got it? And this being the maximum number of questions these series asked, with a lot of questions coming up with name of a particular entity of a particular very popular event. For this year if I am correct, a question was asked as to who was the reporter who reported or whistleblower who actually called out this entire Epstein Island fiasco. So this shows that what kind of questions are asked. Dates are not that asked that much, but specific themes with respect to things and so on and so forth are asked. So yes, we will be looking into all of those things. English comprehension, if we will look at, there are passages of 500 words each. How the part A looks. First of all, how the part A looks, you need to understand that really well. Part A is a 75 marks paper. So there are like 7 to 8 passages, and with each passage there are like somewhere around 10 to 11 questions. Got it? So each passage is near about 500 to 600 words long. These are excerpts from reputed editorials of the Hindu, Mint, Hindustan Times, excerpts from very famous books. I have seen a lot of times very famous Charles Dickens' The Tale of Two Cities being quoted once or twice. Aristotle being excerpt from his book taken up and discussed herein. Research papers, excerpts from them also being taken up and discussed herein. So a lot of things are discussed in the paper. Those dense paragraphs are thrown at you based on those paragraphs because they are excerpts. Understand, if you had the opportunity to read the piece in entirety, you may be able to make a very crystal clear idea. But now what you are given, you are thrown a very particular piece of that particular part of that entire piece, so it is even more confusing. From the particular part, you need to chart out the main point of the passage, you need to chart out the main idea of the author, you need to infer a lot of things, you need to figure out the tone of the author, you need to see if anything needs correction, and a lot of different things are asked out of you in the English comprehension and the critical reasoning part. In the logical reasoning part as well, there are different types, different varieties of questions that are asked to you, different varieties of questions that are asked to you. But one consistent thing is you did not have any prior understanding of law for that matter to answer these questions. These are purely based on your critical thinking and critical logical reasoning abilities, and those can be dealt with if you practice ample. With that set in mind, under the current affairs and general knowledge ambit, different things are asked: constitutional amendments, landmark judgments, treaties, culture, science. The ambit is as wide as generally it is for the UPSC paper. Generally it is. A few things are asked in the UPSC paper that are not asked herein. We have a dedicated analysis in our on our channel. Please go and watch that. That is your current proper strategy for the NLSAT 2027, wherein we discuss what kind of things are asked in the current affairs paper, what kind of things are not asked, so on and so forth. With that said, there are an additional level of skills that you need for this exam. Beyond answering, finding out what is the correct answer, you also need to know which of the answers are actually wrong. So that also becomes very, very important for you. Then we have our part B, legal reasoning. There is a very important thing that I need to talk to you about part B, legal reasoning and analytic essay. Understand that not all copies are checked for part B. Yes, it's very important. See, assume like 2000 people or 1000 people, an X number of people actually go ahead and sit for an LSAT. Okay? So for every 5 part A copies, only 1 part B copy goes. Get it? Which essentially means that only the top 20 percentile of the copies are actually checked for part B. So part A becomes very, very important for you to crack. It's not like, okay, part A में मैं weak हूँ, I will not focus on it, I'll rather make up for it in my part B marks. No, that won't work. You need to be exceptionally good in both the parts to actually crack it into NLS. I'll explain that, and I will bolster this belief when I talk to you about the cutoffs as well. So this is something that you need to be very, very careful about. With that set in our mind, there are 2 types of questions that are asked in our part B paper. One is a legal reasoning questions. There are 5 of these, and there is an essay question. There is only one of these. The legal reasoning questions are 12 marks each, expected to write within 250 to 300 words, and the analytical essay is 15 marks. You are expected to write it in around 450 to 550 words. Understood? So what kind of things are asked to you in this legal reasoning questions? Let's say in the legal reasoning questions, you get hypothetical fact scenarios across things like contract law, torts law, ethics, liability, so on and so forth. You need not remember any cases for these, you need not remember precedents, actual laws, because understand, these are operating in hypothetical countries, in the country of Indiana, in the country of Revana, something like that. So the general structure of these questions are, they will give you some kind of facts, they will give you some kind of law, then based on the law they will try to ask you to apply the law to the facts and then give a conclusive determination on the liability of some particular actor. So for this you need to understand 2 things, the actual prerequisite. First of all, you need to go ahead and actually, in the previous year papers, actually the issue is NLSAT does not actually give out the part B in the previous year questions. How do we do that? Genuinely, because a lot of our students actually go and sit for the exam, we tell them to recapitulate what was the actual question, and by that we make a rough copy of what could have been actually asked in the paper, and we practice on those kind of questions. Beyond that, NLSAT also releases sample papers, and those sample papers, when they do release the part B questions. So all of those are available, where I will be explaining that to you in the end of this blog. So yes, another important thing about the legal reasoning questions in part B. How do you write their answers? Do you just like pick up your pen and start arguing, start bashing the other party based out of emotions? No. Understand that what is being tested out of you in this part B. In part A, they test कि this particular person, is he able to read things very fast? क्या वो सब चीजें पढ़ के समझ पा रहा है? When we are trying to confuse him with this confusing type of questions, मतलब spread across logical reasoning, inference, if not, therefore, what, all of those. If this happens, will this be strengthened or weakened? They want to see that whether you are able to stand your ground with the understanding that you have formed while reading anything. That is the entire purpose of part A. With in addition, I'm not taking into account the CA and GK sections. That is how well informed you are, what is your what is your general political reasoning and general political understanding of the nation and international affairs, so on and so forth. But the entire point of part A is to check whether you have the capability to read and apply. The point of part B is much more than that. They want to see herein that your thought process, whether it is alike to be that of a lawyer or not. Understand, in part B answers, legal answers, they don't want solutions out of you. Because why would they? These are not UPSC answers. In UPSC, they want solutions out of you because they understand you're writing to be a bureaucrat. As a bureaucrat, your job is to find a solution. As a lawyer, your job is to I can't put it in any better way, but your job is to find the legal problems. Your job is to highlight that how this particular scheme affects the maximum amount of people, and to what extent it affects them in a detrimental manner. That is why it becomes very, very important for you to A, think like a lawyer while writing these answers, and to write like a lawyer. For the think like a lawyer thing, C, that is an acumen that you build upon practice and upon review and mentorship. That is something that developing in isolation is very difficult, I would agree, because even I had problems developing that. But with respect to the play it like a lawyer, the write it like a lawyer, that thing can be taken up very easily by writing in this method, what we call the IRAC method. See, you must have heard from a lot of people that IRAC, IRAC, IRAC. What exactly is IRAC? Understand that across the legal fraternity, every research paper you come across, every news article you come across, every judgment you come across, any piece you come across, everything follows a very simple method of writing anything. Everything follows a very simple method of putting their point forward. That is called the IRAC. Under the IRAC method, we first highlight the issue, the I, what exactly is the issue. Then we state the R, the rule of law, the principle that from which the issue is born, because the issue is born out of the mismatch between the rule of law or any ambiguity that the rule of law creates and the fact matrix, whatever has happened. Then while we clarify, evolve the rule of law, or actually fine tune the rule of law to the factual matrix, we apply that herein. And then we give our conclusion and write a reasoned answer, reasoned verdict. Get it? With respect to the essays are a different ball game in themselves, because in contrast to the UPSC essay wherein you are pushing something to end goal, a proper solution, herein you are trying to point out and call out more and more problems. You are looking into multidisciplinary way of in which the particular provision, a particular thing might hamper people. You need to be argumentative, you need to be structured in essays. Again, something that comes with practice, review, and mentorship. We'll come to that in later videos. You can also check the previous batch ka videos that are free on our channel. The playlist is also pinned somewhere. Go and check on our channel. Therein we talk about essay writing. There are a lot of videos, I have discussed them. See those videos, comment in those things, or DM or join our Telegram group and DM, because Telegram to be banned hai, but in some days join our Instagram handle, join our Facebook handle, Twitter handle, DM us therein. We are always open to answer your questions. Ask your seniors who are currently in NLS. We always have been open to answering questions at any hour of the day, clearing doubts. So yes, shoot them at us. Then, what to master in part A becomes very, very important. So there are three competencies areas, not roughly 25 questions each. Your English comprehension. So how do you develop this English comprehension by yourself? To develop this English comprehension, you need to read. You need to get into the habit of reading. read newspapers, read books, read continuously, and while you read with an intent. There are different methods to this. There is skim and scan reading. ठीक है, there are skim and scan reading methods to actually read it very fast. There are methods of mapping to keep in mind what were the points discussed in the particular paragraph, so on and so forth. With respect to current affairs, you need to have a proper guide for this, because you cannot go and deal with everything under the sun. And a lot of things, I am talking from the perspective of students right now, क्या गलती क्या करते हैं. See, वी सजेस्ट कि यू स्टार्ट गिविंग मॉक अर्ली ऑन. सो बहुत सारे बच्चे क्या करते हैं, मतलब बहुत, आई कैन नॉट कॉल देम बच्चे एनीमोर, बट अ लॉट ऑफ एस्पिरेंट्स व्हाट दे डू एग्जैक्टली, शुरू कर देते हैं गिविंग मॉक्स, एंड इन मॉक वन मॉक दे कम अक्रॉस अ पर्टिकुलर करंट अफेयर का क्वेश्चन. they come across a particular current affair का question, they see कि अरे यार किस महीने से था, I don't know. Then they see कि अरे यार this is from the month of June, why don't I know. Then they see कि okay, I have read, I have prepared well for my month of June, but from this particular magazine. However, this current affair points was not covered in this magazine. So what they do is they dump the entire magazine, go on to some other source. Again the problem repeats, again they jump onto some other source. What exactly happens right now that you actually are not sticking to one thing and not revising. The entire game with current affairs is to not accumulate as much information as you can, but rather instead what you should focus on is retain everything that you read by revising. Read relevant things, read that might come in the exam. A lot of times when we are first newly reading about current affairs, we go in some topics, go in so much depth of that topic that we forget about the larger scheme of larger picture of things. That is why to keep yourself in check throughout the process, you need a lot of mocks, you need a lot of guidance, you need scheduled materials given to you, so that okay, तुम्हारे दिमाग में रहेगा कि I need to read this and revise this by this date, because on the next date this material will be dropped on the batch, and on the next date this test will be based upon these materials. With respect to the critical reasoning part, practice. There are different kinds of questions, we teach for those different kinds of questions, but beyond that you only need to practice and practice for all of those kinds of questions. So that becomes very important. Practicing from those kinds of questions, you need to have good sources from which way you can practice. We at Lawfriend provide a lot of good sources. We have curated materials from the back for the batch, and we have free resources for you guys as well. We'll be talking about that in some time. Then how to master part B? Again, I pointed it out very correctly. You'll be encountering you will be encountering conceptual dispute scenarios. You will be encountering things across a different plethora of scenarios. All the questions are not going to be like one. Questions will operate as a different kinds of facts. बहुत सारे चीजों के across, बहुत सारे scenarios के across, examples के across, real life examples के across, questions will be operating. And therein you need to write legal solutions, not moral arguments, nothing like that. That you should not write this is good or this is bad. You should be writing this is legally tenable as per the law, this is not. But you also should be the good or bad aspects, you should be reframing as saying that okay, even though it is legally tenable or legal under the law, we need to look at the greater public purpose of the act, we need to interpret it in this way, that way. So for that you need to understand about the various skills of interpretation. For that you need to understand about the purpose of a law, purpose of a statute, purpose of interpretation. For that you need to know about the public purpose test. There are a lot of things, a lot of tools that you may use. Legitimate authority, if the objective of the law is reached, so on and so forth. With respect to essay, there are generally three essay options given to you in every NLSAT exam. You need to write an essay on any one of those. So writing principles on these things are very simple. Do not jargonize, keep your thought process very concise, and actually contribute by giving out your very original thoughts. How is that going to happen? This essay, you can only write a good essay when you are number one, in tune with what is happening throughout the nation, because essays are not on hypothetical topics, they are real scenarios that you are given to write on. Generally they are on data privacy, constitutional governance, judicial independence, social justice, equity, and all of those things. So for essays, what you need to do exactly, you need to keep reading newspapers, you need to keep discussing in classes, attend essay sessions, and know what to think and how to think about a topic. Those things become very, very important to you, and these things generally in the batch we generate through group discussions on some particular topics. Then with respect to cutoffs, a thing that I believe a lot of you guys are looking forward to. See, I have already told you about that all candidates attempt, but part A screening happens. So 5x of the total number of seats. Assume there is only one seat. There are 120 seats, right? There are 120 seats for the exam. So 5 times these 120 seats, which is like 600 seats. 600 seats, or top 600 ranks in the exam. Top 600 copies in part A are only evaluated for your part B evaluation. Okay. So then your entire percentile is combined based on your combined part A and B score, and based on that you get your final rank and seat. These are all the cutoffs. For general outside Karnataka, the NLSAT 2024 cutoff was 90 to 93, then it increased, then it again increased. And right now we project it to be somewhere around this. NLSAT 2025-2026 May, it was more or less similar because the difficulty levels of both exams were similar. So on and so forth. You can take a screenshot of this table, and if any doubt, you can let us know. So for a target for general aspirants, you need to understand that you need to score an overall of 90 plus. In part A, you need to score somewhere around 65 plus. 70 plus is too much of a thing. 60 to 65 plus. Part B, 25 plus. And thus you create 90 plus. You get 90 plus. You can see that how each year the cutoffs have only risen. Then what should be your strategy? See, we have a very detailed strategy video. I'll be just brushing over it in this video, but go to our channel, see our NLSAT 10 months plan video. In that I have discussed about the entire strategy for NLSAT 2027 in very detail. These 4 phases that I mentioned here in उस वीडियो में पूरे डिटेल में बताया गया है कि how to build your foundation in 2 months, how to build your skills, how to integrate by mocks, and how to finally polish yourself. Very detailed way I have given in that video what are all the things that you need, how in the initial period you need to build reading speed, vocabulary, and start writing in IRAC, build your CA base. In the skill building, how to proceed into advanced RC passages, monthly current affairs, revision, consolidation, and how you are writing like every day 2 to 3 part B sectionals. In the integration phase, we will be talking about writing 2 mocks every week because you are now nearing the exams. You are writing ranked mock tests, so on and so forth. And in the final polish phase, obviously, you will be looking at like 3 mocks under exam conditions every week. You need to work on like current affairs marathons, essays, speedruns, wherein in timers you are writing part B papers, and like analyzing how do you gain out of your mocks. So this entire roadmap framework is best explained in that video with a lot of different kind of skills like how to analyze your mocks, how to learn from your mistakes, how to maintain a journal for NLSAT, so on and so forth. So please go to that video. What are the resources? Let me add one thing to this. What are the free resources available for NLSAT 2027? Understand that if you join the NLSAT Law of an Elite NLSAT 2027 batch, then in that particular batch you are going to get resources for beyond NLSAT, for things and exams, different OLED exams, SLAT हो गया, CNLUET, DSNLUET, and शिमला का NLUJ entrance 3 LLB entrance के लिए as well. You get materials for MHCET, so on and so forth. You get a lot of lectures, you get so many things. But currently, if you want to start a preparation, you want to familiarize yourself with the exam, what are the resources that you need to look into? See, if you go on other websites, I'll be very honest, useless logins for past year papers and sample papers, so on. A lot of things are asked. The materials provided are very in quality, undermined quality. So what's the best thing? What are the immediate materials that you need? First of all, in this YouTube video ka description and in the pinned comment is a blog linked. Go to that blog. Without any kind of login, you will be getting past year questions and past year NLSAT sample papers released by NLS themselves completely for free, no login required. First, download them, go through them. Understood? There are solutions, you'll be finding them on nlsat.in only. Then you need to visit nlsat.in. Visit nlsat.in and you will find free GMAT, SAT books which are very important for you for your NLSAT Part A preparation. very important for you, because those will teach you the fundamentals of inference, the fundamentals of main idea, tonality, so on and so forth. And very soon we are coming up with the NLSAT 2027 capsule course completely for free, on nlsat.in. Stay tuned for that, and yep, we'll be talking about those as well. In the end, if you want to start your NLSAT journey with Lawfren, we suggest that you join our batch. But again, something is that should be an informed decision taken by you. You need to see that if the free materials suffice, go through our YouTube videos, see the way we teach, understand where do you stand, what kind of help do you need, and at any point, if you want any advice, our teams are always open.
Are you preparing for 3-year LLB entrance exams but feeling overwhelmed and unsure where to start? Do you struggle with finding the right resources, guidance and clarity, all in one place? Tired of institutions selling just mock tests or rebranding old materials meant for other exams and charging a fortune for it? Introducing Lawfren, your one-stop solution for 3-year LLB entrance exams. Lawfren brings you cutting-edge tools to supercharge your preparation. With our exams portal, you can participate in live All India tests and instantly see your rank, giving you real-time insights into your performance. Practice questions on individual topics, sharpen your skills, and get exam ready with confidence. Lawfren, aim to be